Today's lesson is Sleep Takes Out the Trash in Our Brains. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be talking about sleep and how important sleep is. I think a lot of us don't really want to sleep at night. We've got too many things to do, so we stay up really late. But then when we start sleeping, we just love it, and we find it very difficult to get up in the morning. But still, sleep is essential, and today we're going to be talking about what exactly sleep does. Sleep actually helps clean up our brains.
That kind of makes sense, I guess. Because if you've spent a night lying in bed sleepless, well, your body is getting rest clearly, right? You're not moving, you're lying there, maybe tossing and turning, rolling over, trying to get to sleep, but you're not exactly jumping or standing or running or walking around, but still you wake up in the morning or you get out of bed in the morning after an unsuccessful night of sleep, you feel exhausted. So clearly, it's not just about resting your bones and muscles and joints and ligaments, your brain has to rest. That might actually be the most important function of sleep, not to rest your body, to rest your brain. There's a lot of stuff going on in your brain as you're sleeping, and we're going to find out all about it. So let's check out how sleep takes out the trash in our brains. Sleep takes out the trash in our brains. Scientists have long puzzled over how sleep affects our brains. Recent studies have shed light on this mystery, though. They showed that sleep helps the brain to remove harmful waste products that sometimes lead to health disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and depression.
大家好，第一部分介绍名词 disorder， 它的意思是疾病、失调，也可以是凌乱的意思。例如Bill has a sleep disorder that causes him to wake up several times during the night. Bill 有睡眠失调问题，那会让他在晚上醒来好几次。或者 Heather's room was in complete disorder after the party. 派对后 Heather 的房间一片凌乱。再来看到名词 depression， 表示忧郁症，也可以是抑郁或是沮丧。例如 Sam is seeking professional advice on how to deal with his depression.Sam 正在寻求如何因应忧郁症的专业建议。或是 Unable to leave his apartment for weeks, Doug started showing signs of depression. 几个星期不能离开公寓， Doug 开始出现抑郁的迹象。
Okay, so again, we're talking about the purpose of sleep, and we're saying that it takes out the trash in our brains. It doesn't really do that, but it kind of cleans them up and rearranges the neurons and things like that so that we can function better during our daily lives. And yes, indeed, that's what you do at night when you hear the truck, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. When the garbage truck is coming, you're going to take out the trash. You're going to get rid of your garbage, or you're going to get rid of your rubbish. And in this particular case, though, we are cleaning out our brains by sleeping. So scientists have long puzzled over how sleep affects our brains. Yes, I think scientists still don't really know exactly why we sleep, but we still need to sleep, otherwise we're in big trouble. So they've long puzzled over this, which means they're confused about it. They're doing research, but they really can't come up with any definitive answers. Yeah, how does sleep affect our brains, and why do we do it in the first place?
Yes, many mysteries, many questions, many things need to be answered and discovered. But there's good news. It says recent studies have shed light on this mystery, though. So that's the good news. Science is still doing what science does, coming up with new discoveries and proving or disproving new theories. So these recent studies, recent scientific research with sleep doctors and neuroscientists, people who study our brain, they have shed light on this mystery. To shed light on something is basically to bring new information to the fore, to discover new things about things, to learn new things, to develop new ideas and have new facts to share with people. So if you're asking someone a question, you're asking them to shed light on a certain situation. Can you tell me more about this? Do you know more? I missed this. I wasn't there. Or I know you might have more important or useful information. Can you shed light on this? Can you tell me more? Can you enlighten me? You can also also use that expression. So that's the good news. New studies have given us new information. They showed that sleep helps the brain to remove harmful waste products that sometimes lead to health disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and depression. So this is the trash that's getting taken out. These studies have shown that the brain can remove harmful waste products in our brain. That kind of sounds like garbage or trash or things that you don't want, harmful waste products. But of course, our body produces urine and feces when we go to the bathroom. We're getting rid of harmful waste products from our body. But there's also that kind of stuff in our brain too, apparently. And these waste products, if left unattended, could lead to health disorders or health problems, illnesses. When we say a disorder, it could be an illness. It could be a long-term thing, a short-term thing. It's basically something that's not going quite right. Something is wrong in your body if you have a disorder. We're just not quite sure what it is. But some of these disorders, of course, can be very serious, such as Alzheimer's disease and depression, two things that I think most people would, want to avoid if they could.
Interesting. I never thought about that. Of course, we do use the bathroom every day, at least 2 or 3 times. We're getting rid of waste products from our body. I never thought that we could be getting rid of waste products from our brains. Okay, we actually are. So imagine that you go into the bathroom to get rid of a bad memory or something, or some bad thoughts. You just go in there and flush those memories down the stool. I wish it were that easy, but you get the point here. There are waste products produced by the brain, and sleep helps clean these things out of the brain, and then they come out later in different forms. Maybe a sweat as well, who knows? And yes, indeed, they can lead to health disorders, so that's why sleep is important. So again, if you want to keep your sanity, if you want to be not so crazy, then yes, make sure that you get enough sleep. And we did mention a couple of diseases here that you might suffer from. If you don't get enough sleep, you could suffer from Alzheimer's disease, which affects people when they can't remember things. Like Ronald Reagan, I think, had Alzheimer's disease before he died. And also depression, which means you basically feel sad all the time. And this is clinical. It's not just feeling sad because your cat died or something like that. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part and talk some more about this.
The first study examining the link between sleep and waste removal was carried out in 2013. While studying mice, scientists found that the space between brain cells increases during sleep, enabling the brain to flush out toxins. These findings were supported by a Boston University study from 2019. In that study, scientists discovered that the process of memory formation also causes changes in blood flow and the movement of toxins in the brain. 2 years later, scientists at Northwestern University reported that when fruit flies are in deep sleep, they move fluids through their bodies that help to clear waste and heal injuries. Moreover, while fruit flies are very different from humans, their brain cells work in similar ways to ours.
第二部分看到名词 removal， 它的意思是移除或是去除。例如 Tiffany's yard looks much better after the removal of the dead tree. Tiffany 的院子在移除枯树后看起来好多了。继续介绍片语 carry out， 表示进行、实施或是执行。我们可以说 The team was ready to carry out their plan. 该团队准备好执行他们的计划。又或者说 The detective was assigned to carry out the investigation to find out the truth. 这名侦探被指派进行调查以找出真相。接着看到 formation 这个单字，它是名词，它的意思是形成、构成、创建，也可以是结构的意思。例如 Constant high winds help create unique ice formations on the lake's surface. 持续的强风有助于在湖面上形成独特的冰层。又或者说 Anna says that those cloud formations are a sign that a big storm is coming. Anna 说那些云的结构显示大型暴风雨要来了。再来介绍名词 fluid， 指的是液体或是流质。举例来说 You should drink plenty of fluids when you are sick. 生病时你应该多喝水。又或者说 Susan poured the fluid into the container carefully. Susan 小心地将液体倒入容器中。下一个来看到副词 moreover， 表示而且或是此外。例如 Randy's grades have been down this semester. Moreover, he often shows up late to class. Randy 这学期的成绩一直在下滑。此外，他上课还经常迟到。也可以说 I'm too busy to take a vacation right now. Moreover, I can't afford it. 我现在太忙了，不能去度假，而且我也负担不起。
All right, we are back. So let's find out more of the new information that we're getting about sleep and how it affects our brain and how it can actually help to get rid of harmful waste products in our brains. This is absolutely fascinating. So let's go on. It says the first study examining the link between sleep and waste removal was carried out in 2013. So it's been at least 10 years that scientists have been studying this. 2013 was the first time some research was carried out. When you do something, you carry it out, basically. You can carry out research, you can carry out a survey, carry out a questionnaire that you might ask a group of people to get information. You can also carry out a plan. If you do a plan, if you engage in it, if you try to use it, you're carrying out or putting that into play, into practice. So this research was carried out in 2013 looking at a link between sleep and waste removal. The taking out of something is the removal of that thing. If you are taking the trash out of the kitchen garbage and putting it outside, you are engaged in garbage or waste removal from your home. And if you go to the bathroom, that's a form of waste removal. We can also talk about removal, just taking things away. Often, actually, in the UK, if you're moving house, you might not call a moving company, you might call a removal company. That's what they call them sometimes there. They're taking things out of places and then putting them into other places. So removal is just taking things out. In this case, waste from our brains. How did they discover this stuff?
Well, again, back in 2013, while studying mice, scientists found that the space between brain cells increases during sleep, enabling the brain to flush out toxins.
Wow.
So they were doing this experiment on mice, which are small little rodents, like mini little rats or whatever. So they, of course, have laboratory mice that they were working on, and they did some experiments on those mice, and they discovered, or they found, that the space between the cells in the brain actually increases. Okay, during sleep, the space between the brain cells will actually increase, and they're not just doing this because they're magnetic or something and they repel each other or whatever. They actually get farther apart from each other in order to get waste out from between them. Okay, so that's what they discovered by experimenting on these laboratory mice. And of course, when those spaces increase, the brain is enabled, or the brain can flush out those toxins. So here we've got the verb to flush. That's what you do to the toilet after you sit down and do a number 1 or a number 2. You flush the toilet. Make sure you close the lid too, otherwise fecal bacteria spreads throughout the air and that can spread diseases. So yes, you flush the toilet, but we're making this into a 2-word verb phrase here, to flush out, which means to actually get rid of something. It could also mean that you're trying to get something that is hiding out in the open so you can attack it. I want to flush out that animal so that I can shoot it with my hunting rifle.
Of course, you could do that with water, or you can do that just by scaring it out or something like that. And also, if you get something in your eye, you might be told to go to the sink and flush out your eye with water to get that dust out or that chemical. You got a drop of something nasty in your eye, flush it out. Use water to sort of use large amounts of water to basically push it out and clean it out in that way. So you actually are getting rid of harmful waste products. These are toxins. Toxins are kind of poisons that you might have in your body. You can also get toxins from being bitten by certain animals or getting infected with certain things, but basically nasty chemicals that can make you sick. You don't want them in your body, so get rid of them or flush them out. These findings, it says, were supported by a Boston University study from 2019. So one study in 2013 was basically matched, or a lot of what they found in 2013 agreed with a lot of the things they discovered in 2019. The findings are basically the results of the research, the results of the experiment. The things that they discovered were supported later on by another study at a different place. In that study, scientists scientists discovered that the process of memory formation also causes changes in blood flow and the movement of toxins in the brain. So actually making memories can cause physical changes in your brain. When you're forming or making memories, the blood flow in your brain can change and the movement of toxins can change. They can tell this using sophisticated equipment. But basically, the formation of something is the making of something. The formation of the earth took billions of years. The formation of a company might take a much shorter time, obviously, but it is basically the establishment of something when it was founded and how it was first sort of structured and made. The formation of a human baby inside its mother takes around 9 months, and then the baby is born. So we're making things, we're building things, we're creating things, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So that's the formation of memories. Of course, we're forming memories all the time when things happen in our daily lives or when we're trying to memorize information for a test. Things happen in your brain. There's a change in blood flow, how the blood moves around in your brain and in your body, and it also affects how toxins are moved in the brain. Hopefully, those toxins are moved out of the brain and out of the body. 2 years later, scientists at Northwestern University reported that when fruit flies are in deep sleep, they move fluids through their bodies that help to clear waste and heal injuries. So this is some research done with fruit flies, which are small insects you see around food. If you don't clean up your kitchen, fruit flies start to gather around. And a fluid, of course, is like a liquid. To me, a fluid is more of kind of a thick liquid, like oil. It's more of a fluid, but we've got fluids in our bodies, different kinds of liquids in our bodies. And these fluids help clear the waste out. And then, of course, our injuries can be healed. If you've skinned your knee, for example, this will help your knee heal.
That's right. And that's not all. As it goes on, it says, moreover, while fruit flies are very different from humans, their brain cells work in similar ways to ours. Of course, when they're doing experiments on animals, they're able to basically have a rough idea of how it will affect humans based on how it affects an animal. It's not quite the same, but of course, it's much safer to test this stuff out on things like mice or fruit flies rather than test it out on people, because in many ways, a lot of the basic structure of these animals, whether it's a small mammal like a mouse or something even simpler and more unrelated to humans like fruit flies, a lot of the basic structures are very similar. When we say moreover, it's kind of like saying in addition, also, and that kind of thing. So also, while fruit flies are very different from humans, their brain cells work in similar ways to ours. So scientists can learn a lot from studying fruit flies. Not all of it will pertain to humans, but much of it will. And of course, ethically, it's much safer and better to experiment on flies than on people. Let's check out the third and final part of the article. These studies emphasize sleep's role in maintaining proper brain function and show how important sleep is for brain health and disease prevention. Without it, our brains would literally break down.
第三部分看到 literally 这个单字，它是副词，表示确实或是名副其实的。我们可以说 Timmy's performance was literally flawless. Timmy 的表演确实无可挑剔。也可以说 The news was so shocking, it literally took my breath away. 这个消息太令人震惊了，它确实让我屏住了呼吸。
Okay, the third part of our article sort of sums up what we talked about today. These studies from these different universities emphasize sleep's role in maintaining proper brain function and show how important sleep is for brain health and disease prevention. So we did mention these studies, and we've used them as examples to emphasize the fact that sleep is very important for various purposes. To emphasize just means to stress something, so it's something we should pay attention to. And yes, indeed, it helps us maintain brain function, to keep us thinking well, and to avoid Alzheimer's disease and stuff like that. And it's also important for disease prevention. Prevention is the process of preventing something to stop something from happening.
Exactly right. And without it, our brains would literally break down. So without sleep, our brains would break down. Now, when someone says, oh, something's going to break down, they could be meaning not exactly what I mean, but that's the idea of what I mean. If I don't sit down, I think my body will break down. Well, no, your body won't break down. It won't fall to pieces. You won't end up in hospital. You'll just be exhausted or something like that. But when you say literally, that is exactly what you mean. So if we don't get to a garage soon, my car will literally break down. It will literally exactly stop in the middle of the road with smoke pouring out of the engine or something like that. If someone says, I've been waiting for you for literally 3 years when you're 30 minutes late, well, they shouldn't be saying that literally because they do mean 3 years. I've been waiting for you here for like 1,000 days or something like that. So when you say literally, it means this is precisely what you mean. You're not using it in a sort of descriptive way, in an illustrative way. You mean it in exactly that way. So you kind of have to be careful about that. People often use this term to stress something, but when they use it in that way, they might actually not be making much sense. Like, I've been literally waiting for you for 1,000,000 years. Well, that's, of course, impossible. All right, so that's all the time we have for that, but we do have another day of this. So please do come back and join us for that. Tomorrow, I believe we're going to be getting some good tips on good sleep health.
And here's Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第3部分最后一句提到 Without it, our brains would literally break down。 句子里面的 it 指的是睡眠，所以这个句子是说没有睡眠，我们的大脑确实会出毛病。那这边要介绍的是 without 加上名词去搭配假设法主要子句的用法，用来表达与事实相反的情况。那我们可以用这一类的句型去表达出要是没有什么什么的话的那种意思。好，这边介绍2种句型。第一个句型是 without 加名词逗号，主词加上 would、could 或者是 might 再加原形动词，用来表达跟现在事实相反的情况。例如 Without water, there would be no life on earth。 要是没有水的话，地球上就不会有生命存在。那这是跟现在事实相反的情况。第二个句型是 without 加上名词逗号，主词加上 would、could 或是 might 再加 have 加 pp。 那这是用来表达与过去事实相反的情况。例如 Without your help, we wouldn't have succeeded。 当时要是没有你的帮忙，我们就没办法成功了。所以当初是有帮忙，然后所以我们成功了，这就是在表达跟过去事实相反的情况咯。好，另外课文它用到 break down 来表达大脑出毛病，无法正常运作。其实 break down 原本是指失灵，可能是指这个机器啊或车辆等等它故障了，无法运作，那是当不及物用。例如 Their old car is constantly breaking down，意思就是他们那台老爷车啊，经常抛锚。我们顺便补充一下 break down 当不及物用的时候，还有其他的意思哦。第一个，当它的主词是人的时候 break down 可以指崩溃，情绪崩溃，像是 Amy broke down in tears when she heard the news。 Amy 听到那个消息时，她崩溃大哭。第二个，当主词是事物时 break down 可以指分解，物质分解，或者是事物分成了更小单位。那么 break down 当这个意思解释时，它还可以当及物用，去表达说使什么分解，将什么分成更小单位。后面你还可以再接 into 加上名词。我们就来造2个例句。Plastic takes hundreds of years to break down。 塑胶要数百年才会分解。或是像 She broke down her speech into 3 parts。 她把她的演讲内容分成3部分。好，那介绍第3个用法 break down， 它还可以指这种像关系啊、协商、讨论等等破裂了、破局了、失败了。例如 Negotiations between the 2 countries have broken down。 2国之间的协商已经破局了。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Disorder. Pete's strange behaviors made his friends suspect that he had a mental disorder. Depression. A doctor has been helping Gina to manage her depression. Removal. It was decided that the removal of the damaged tree was necessary for safety reasons. Formation. The formation of the new policy involved thorough research by experts. Fluid. Because the jar had no label, the scientist wasn't sure what kind of fluid it contained. Moreover. The salad is cheaper than the burger. Moreover, it's better for you. Prevention. Regular exercise and a healthy diet are key to the prevention of various health problems.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.